What's up, y'all? We're back again, and this is a little post initial wave of free agency summary kind of our roster going into the draft. Well, as of we sit a month out of the draft. And so I kind of wanted to go through today and talk about what we got going on so far. Where's our roster sitting at? What do we need to look at? What do we need to improve? And all that. And so I have kind of a rough depth chart thrown together of guys that we got on our team so far, what roles I see them playing. I'll discuss a little bit. And from there, we'll talk about what spots do we need to really look at to add in the remaining time of free agency before the draft, after the draft, and in the draft. What do we need to address? And so, just a little outline of what I did here. I threw together all the names and stuff, and the main thing I did this based off of is I put on guys that I think are capable of making the roster or that I would like to see, even compete for a spot. There's some guys I would like to push down the depth chart further or even completely push off the roster potentially. But for now, this is what I think is probably potentially who's going to make the roster as we stand right now. And so that's what I'm looking at right now and what we're going to work with. And so I got offense here, and then I got defense is what we're going to address next. But so first, starting on offense, we got a pretty simple layout here. The positions that stand out to me here that I want to point out to you guys is look at our offensive line depth. We don't got much of it at all. So here at right tackle, we got Abe Lucas, great starter. We got good, capable starters, in my opinion. Phil Haynes is kind of iffy. I wish that we could get a guy that would push Haynes down to a depth piece, but I do think it's very likely that he starts for us. So at a minimum, I want to get definitely interior offensive line depth, potentially, see what we can do there. But I think at tackle depth, we're okay. I could see us taking a late round flyer on a tackle, or if we really like a certain prospect, taking a guy and having him be depth or something like that, or kicking him inside. But offensive line depth is a need. I think our starting lineup is okay. We got good bookend tackles. Damian Lewis has been a good guard last year for us. Evan Brown looks to bring some good potential as a potential starter at center for us. Phil Haynes, he was okay when he was playing last year, and so I don't feel super strongly about wanting him to start. I'd like to see if we could get a guy that could replace him, but if he starts, it's not the end of the world. But again, I'd prefer if he was a backup. He's a good backup, low end starter. So that's what we're looking at. So let's get some depth in here. Hopefully, free agency, the draft, we can get a couple guys that can fill in roles here. Next, I think a need that is much more dire than people realize. Just look at our wide receiver depth chart. It is pretty lackluster. Now, again, full transparency, there's a couple other guys that are currently on our roster, but I don't expect them to make the final 53 or anything like that. Cade Johnson's actually pretty iffy to me whether or not he'd make the 53. I don't really think he will. And I kind of hope we push him to where he's a very much a bubble guy at best. But for now, he's our wide receiver 4, is what it looks like. And so that's something that's very important. Tariq Young, a guy who had, I think, 33 yards last year. He had got like 4 touches on the season. He's our wide receiver 3, and that's a problem. And I think that people keep trying to sweep that under the rug and act like that's not a big issue. That's a big issue. And so keep that in mind as we go through. As you see, we got Geno Smith that we signed back, Drew Lock as our backup that we signed again. Running back, huge depth need. Kenneth Walker and DJ Dallas is not good enough to be only guys on your team. We have Darwin Thompson also on our roster, but again, I don't think he makes the 53. I don't want him to make the 53. He's a practice squad guy to me. But again, it'd be nice to get a guy that kind of slots ahead of DJ Dallas as RB2, and DJ Dallas can stick to being kind of our potentially a third down back or kind of a fill-in, get him a couple touches here and there, but he should be good, a strong depth option. That's just my opinion here. Kenneth Walker, obviously a great starter. We just need more there. We need at least another body or two in here that can fill out a roster. And so that's something I think we address in the mid to late rounds of the draft here. Nick Bellore, fullback, we re-signed, also core special teamer. That's the main gist there. But again, that's what I'm taking away. Tight end is something that's a sneaky need for us because, again, no offense, got 1 year left on the deal. Will Dissly's contract is kind of janky. I could see us getting, he won't be on the team next year. I could see potentially, or we'll have to figure something else out there. Colby Parkinson again. He's a guy that I think he has, if not 1 year, then 2 years left on his deal, if I remember correctly. I think he has 1 year left though. So again, all 3 of these guys could be gone after next year. Or we could, do something contractually fix that out. Or maybe we trade Noah Fan, draft another guy, something. There's things that could happen, but there's needs all across the offense, I think, that are just kind of under the radar needs. But I think the biggest needs, if I were to do a tier list here, interior offensive line / depth there and wide receiver 3 are kind of the most dire to me. So those are the assets that I want to put high end assets there, like first, second, third round picks. I'm okay taking those positions. If we get there, it'd probably be like the second first round pick. So pick 20 through like our third round pick at 83. I'd be like, that's the spot I want to see an investment in those positions. So that's just a range. And also, free agency, if we find a couple guys so we can get like depth on the offensive line where it makes it less of a concern where we need to get guys later in the draft there, we could also, figure that out and plug some different things in and tool it around. Or wide receiver, there's not much left on the market, but these are all things we can play with. Tight end and running back kind of fall into the next layer where it's like we can survive with this right now for sure. Tight end, we have a good lineup going into for this year. That's the issue, is that it's this year and then we kind of have nothing left. So I want to see something done here to protect us for the future. Running back, it's not the contract issues. It's just we need more bodies. So that's those two kind of mid-tier needs there, and very low-end needs. Like there's not much there for me. I think we got those two bigger needs, and that's about it on offense. And from there, it's kind of just if you see a guy that's the best player available, or we really like a prospect, send it. So that's what I'm going to say there for offense. So let me know in the comments what you think about the offensive situation here. What you think about my thoughts there. If you have any additional thoughts that I didn't cover, tell me in the comments. Okay. Now we're going to move on to defense. So we're going to scroll up to the top here. And for defense, again, I did it similarly where if I don't want a guy to even be in contention to be for the roster, I just didn't include him on the depth chart because I want him to be pushed out. And that's what I think is huge for what we're looking at here. And again, on defense, what gets a little more tricky is the depth chart. You'll see guys' names listed here 2-3 times. And that's very intentional because, so for example, let's see Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was our nickel last year, of course, but in college he played outside corner. And we got Julian Love, who very likely could end up being our nickel this year. And so he's kind of forced out of this starting role here, but I think he's a backup there. I think he competes, at for a spot here for the other side corner, potentially to be, either competing with Michael Jackson or to be a backup there with Trey Brown. Or, on the other side, he'll be behind Tariq Woolen as a backup there. It's things like that. Similarly, Trey Brown's on both sides. I think he could play either side. I think it's all about where guys could be. And so I did move that around a little bit for us here. Similarly, linebacker. This is if we're healthy and stuff. So Bobby Wagner, Jordan Brooks is injured. He probably most definitely will not be there at the beginning of the year. So Devin Bush will likely be the starter there to start the season, but Jordan Brooks, when he's healthy, will take that back over. But then in a potential where Bobby Wagner goes down, I think Jordan Brooks would be the guy to step in as the Mike, and Devin Bush would be the will there. So just to explain some of those mechanics of how the depth chart is layered. Okay, now big needs here. I just want the way I point out that makes it so abundantly obvious to me is, okay, we got 3 deep here. We got 3 deep here at safety. We got 2 deep here. We got 3 deep here. We got 2 deep here. We got, nickel 3 deep. Other side corner 3 deep. But then you look at our defensive line, man. Like just to highlight right there, man. Holy cow. We got one guy, 2 guys inside that box there. That interior 3, I think that's where the biggest need for our entire team is. Truthfully, that's what I'm looking at here. And so what I would say is I want a guy that could kick Jarran Reed to hopefully be a rotational guy, make him a backup. But if he's a starter, he needs a very, I think, 50-50 split with another player here. Brian Monet, he shouldn't be a starter. He's the only guy we got on nose under contract. I truthfully would not mind at all if we cut him, got some cap savings there and fully just flushed out that nose position. But for now, he's the only guy we got on the roster. Over here, Miles Adams is the only kind of backup. And so I want to potentially change that if possible. Either kick him down to like a 3rd stringer or very much make him like the 4th, 5th defensive end rotational guy on our team so that he's very limited. But I think the coaching staff wants him to be involved in some form, but I don't think he should be a prominent force here. Other things to note, edge rusher is one of those needs where it's interesting because I think, again, similar to tight end, I do like our group going into this year. I think Nchennan Nwosu, Daryl Taylor, Boye Mafe, Tyreek Smith, Alton Robinson is a really good both starting lineup and solid depth. But we got Nwosu's deal expires at the end of the year if we don't extend him. Daryl Taylor, same thing. Tyreek Smith and Boye Mafe are the only guys out of this group that are under contract for more than just this season because they're younger guys. Alton Robinson, again, his deal ends at the end of the year, but I don't even know what the plan is with him. I don't know his health. I don't know anything like that. So we definitely need to figure out something there, whether it's extend Nwosu, figure something out, maybe extend Daryl Taylor too, if possible. I don't know if the money will be there for us to do that, but those are the ideas I have there. Maybe draft another guy, invest so that when, one of the guys or two of the guys kind of end up leaving the team, we have another guy coming in and filling that role. So those are the things to think about there. Another need, I want more linebacker here. I think John Radigan, he's a guy included because I do think, as of now, I think he'll have some role. I don't think it's very prominent at all, but I think he'll get some snaps on defense. But mostly he's a special teamer, and I'm happy with him making the roster. But that's what I'm saying right now. I could see him getting some reps, which is why he's on here. But I think I definitely would like us to also draft the linebacker as well, because on this team, Bobby Wagner, Jordan Brooks, Devin Bush, and John Radigan are all on one-year deals right now. Well, Jordan Brooks isn't on a one-year deal, but he's in the last year of his contract. And unless we pick up his fifth-year option, which is like $12 million. So that's a big decision there. But Devin Bush, one-year deal, Bobby Wagner, one-year deal, John Radigan, 10-year deal. So all this entire linebacker room is gone after this season, unless we do some different things like extensions, resign, draft. So that's what I'm saying. That's a big need. Interior defensive line, we need to draft, throw some draft capital there, high-end draft capital there to make this room better, to really help this linebacker core perform better as well, and the edge rushers perform better as well. We need an interior three that can really compete. At safety, Jamal Adams, that's a question mark right now. I do think that he's part of our plans going into this year. He's a good player when he's healthy. So that's really what we got to work on, is keeping him healthy. And so that's what we'll say. Ryan Neal, I think, is the true backup at strong safety. Quandre Diggs, Julian Love would be the free safety alternative if something happened there. But I think Julian Love's main role that we signed him for is to take in that nickel for this year and then potentially slot in at one of the safety spots the year following. But for now, I think he starts at nickel for us, and I think he's the kind of guy we can move around and play around with. Same with Jamal Adams. I do think that's part of the reason we got the Julian Love deal done, is so that we can have all four of those guys on the field. And what that could potentially look at is more of a big nickel set where we have Julian Love say at nickel here. We have Jamal Adams in kind of like a sub linebacker type package where he'd be like the Will or something like that. In for like Devin Bush, let's say, he'd be in for him or something like that alongside Bobby Wagner. And we can have Quandre and Ryan Neal in at the other safety spots or something similar to that, moving guys however you want to, so they can all be on the field and make an impact on a team at the same time. So that's something to think about there as well. I think safety, we got great depth at. I don't think we need to invest any capital there unless it's mid to late round draft picks at best. Corner, I think the corner two spot is something that I'm curious what we think here. Michael Jackson was an okay starter for us last year, but that's pretty much it. Now he's young. If he takes a step forward, that could be something that could be okay. That could turn into a decent tandem duo. But I don't think right now that he's a guy who elevates our defense. He's a guy that limits our defense, in my opinion. And that's no offense to him. I think he'd be a great depth piece for our team. I'd love him as a backup corner, is the way I would put it. But Trey Brown, Kobe Bryant, I'd like to see that be a strong three-way competition for that spot there. Trey Brown's a guy I had a lot of honestly hope for when he came out, but he got injured his rookie year. Last year, I think, was coming back, didn't really show much because I think he was coming off the injury. But those are things that are interesting. Kobe obviously played nickel and made some good plays for us, but his natural spot was outside corner, so maybe he can come compete here and potentially snag his spot back. Take an outside corner spot like he had in college. Those are things I want to see, but truthfully, I'm going to be fully transparent. I'd be okay if we drafted a corner in the in that second first round pick, if it's a guy that elevates our team, if it's a guy that makes a step forward, like Deonte Banks, that'd be a big move that'd help elevate our team. But I could see corner as a spot that we could really elevate this defense in. So I'm going to lay that out there as well. But our depth there is strong. We got good depth. We got guys under contract. I like our depth. I just think we could improve the high end starting quality here, opposite of Tariq Woolen, to really boost our defense overall and strengthen a strength. So that's what I'll say there. And to summarize again, biggest needs on defense, like I talked about offense, the biggest needs interior defensive line. Nose being the single biggest need there for our team here. So nose and then the defensive end interior spots there. From there, I'd go to linebacker. And then after that, truthfully, I'd say probably edge and corner in a similar like middle tier where I think both of them have equal importance because Michael Jackson's on a 1 year tender deal. Trey Brown and Kobe Bryant have a couple years on their contract left, so there's more there to be tooled with and see what we can get out of them. But I do think a high end player could be a good asset there to kind of replace them and make them depth pieces because then we have a just great overall well-rounded depth filled group. From there, edge is a similar story where I like our group right now, but I think either adding a high end player like a Will Anderson or Tyree Smith or Tyree Wilson, gosh, I was thinking Tyreek Smith while I said that. But anyway, adding a high end player like that in the early rounds could be good, strong add to our team right now in that position group as well. But I also think that if we did something like drafted a guy in the mid rounds where we have kind of depth moving up, flowing into a position where we can do something there, that could be a good potential possibility as well. From there, I mean, I like our nickel position. I like the guys we got there in Julian Love and Kobe Bryant. That's perfect to me. Let's see. I think that's really sums it up. Strong safety, free safety. We've got a really strong group there. And so overall, if I were to rank between both sides of the ball, the top tier football team needs would be nose and interior defensive line. That's the single biggest need, and it's in a tier of its own, in my opinion. Closely followed to that would probably be that linebacker position for me, hanging in there as well. But we got good guys for this year, but you need to invest so we have guys coming up for the next coming years. Wide receiver 3 is in that position as well, where we have no one after DK and Tyler, and in the modern league, that's just not good enough. Interior offensive line falls in that same category. Tight end, running back, corner, those are all positions that I think we can get better at as we look at it right now. Yeah, in the offensive line depth, like I mentioned, that could be a huge asset that we improve here on this team. So that's really all I got for you guys today. I like the rest of our team beyond what I've mentioned in this video here. And I think that we got a good roster moving forward. I think we got a good starting team for right now. We just need more depth. We need to really strengthen some strengths. I think we could improve starting quality at a few positions, notably wide receiver 3, defensive line, corner. I think those are the main positions I want to improve the starting lineup in, and then depth at a variety of other spots that I mentioned previously. So once again, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. If you find content like this enjoyable, stick with the channel, man. We're growing something here. I think we can really get a good community where we have, good discussions and bounce ideas off of one another. And you guys can give me ideas. I can perhaps throw my ideas out there and you guys can respond. And so I think that's really the best thing we can do here is get a little football community of guys so we can have fun conversations and ideas and discussions. So I hope that you guys enjoyed. Yeah, have a good one, guys. And I'll see you in the next video here. Peace.